Hello and welcome to the Spandex and Wine podcast. I'm your host, Robin Hackney, and I'm so happy that you're here. This podcast is a place for conversations about balancing a healthy lifestyle and being happy. More specifically, happy hour. Together, we'll explore all things wellness and wine. I hope you learn a little, laugh a lot, and along the way, know you're not alone on this balanced wellness journey. Ready to jump in? Pour something in your glass that makes you happy because it's time for Spandex and Wine. Hello and welcome to the Spandex and Wine podcast. I'm your host, Robin Hackney, and I'm thankful that you're here. Today's guest, Robin Jonas, is a holistic nutritionist, and she's also a podcaster. She helps empower mamas to make small shifts to reclaim their health through a holistic approach. She also guides her listeners and clients through a journey of self-discovery, exploring nutrition, movement, creativity, spirituality, joy, home cooking, space, and finances. Basically, she tunes in to help cultivate wellness in every aspect of your life. Without further ado, Robin Jonas. Well, hello and welcome to the Spandex and Wine podcast, Robin. I'm very happy that you are here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here, Robin.
Yes. So, holistic health coach and podcaster, I want to start with the health coaching if you don't mind. Tell me about how you got started in the health industry.
Personally, I think that's kind of where it always starts for a lot of people. But
Sure.
About 20 years ago, when my kids, I was always kind of health conscious growing up, but with zero understanding and education. And then as my kids came into the scene, they each had, just different things that weren't right. And when we would go to the doctor, I just felt like the answers weren't really acceptable to me. And I knew that there were root causes, and I knew people just don't get that for nothing and all the things. And so the birth of just started that process for me. And then as they aged and we discovered and we would learn through different things, naturally things started to unfold. And so we started first with non-toxic products because one of my daughters had allergic rhinitis. And so we needed to get rid of all the scents. So that was a journey in itself.
Okay.
But again, 20 years ago, there wasn't a lot on the market. So there's a lot of deep diving and understanding ingredients and all of that. And very honestly, I was greenwashed several times, meaning that companies put things out. You look at the front, it looks great. You're like, oh, this is a super awesome choice. And then you realize it's really not a super awesome choice when you turn it over and read the labels or the ingredients. So things like that. And then, it just kept kind of spiraling into something different with each time they would encounter something and we would learn something. And I started to reach out to different modalities. I didn't just go with what our pediatrician, well, at that time, our pediatrician said, but I switched pediatricians to somebody who had a holistic and Western kind of mesh together, which I liked, because there's always a place for medicine if needed. There's always a place for Western surgery, things like that. But then they really look at the deep dive. So fast forwarding lots of years, when one of my daughters was in middle school, she had what I would say would be like hyperactiveness, like those tendencies, but not a lot, not always. It's just always at home, just not really out. And so when I addressed my pediatrician, he was like, we'll test, here's this giant packet, but before we do anything, we want to do a stool test and a neurotransmitter test. And at that time, I had never really heard of that. And, I knew organic, I knew whole foods, I knew stress reduction, all the stuff, but I had never heard of a stool test. And so I was like, well, sure, let's do it. And the picture that was painted from that and the neurotransmitter test really opened my eyes to the modalities that are out there that we're not using because nobody knows about them. And it's really a shame because she didn't have ADD. She had candida overgrowth, which was causing her to mimic those symptoms. And it was also because her gut was out of whack. Her neurotransmitters, her brain was not functioning properly because the gut-brain connection. So with all that, I was like, okay, I know what I love. I know what I'm passionate about, and I just want to get more educated. So I went back to school and I got certified as a holistic health coach with a certification in gut health and emotional eating. But in my other life prior to all that, I was a teacher. So I think naturally I just have been kind of in this realm of absorbing knowledge and not really teaching, but showing people how to do things for themselves, really.
Sure.
Yeah. And so fast forward to now, I have that business. I do one-on-one coaching. I'm in creation of a course because I know from teaching, being in community really helps us stay accountable. It helps us find our tribe and our people. And as empty nest moms in the older generation,
Yeah.
they've had these little tribes of people all along, and then they get to this stage and there's no more tribe. And so we need to create that tribe. So we're doing that as well. I'm creating a membership for empty nest moms who really just need to be seen and heard and felt and go through the feelings and then find themselves again, because truthfully, it's a time where we come into more like actual physical time and we don't know what to do with it. And so getting a hold of your health and wellness is really a good thing to put into that time, right? So
Yeah,
that's where I'm at.
absolutely.
And throw podcasting in because that's my fun. That's where I find joy and all the
Okay.
things. Like that's a leap that I took last year, and I have never looked back. It's been
Oh,
amazing.
I love it.
So
Good.
yeah.
Good. And I want to get to the podcast, but I do feel like people totally underestimate gut health. And I think
Mm,
that now that term is just thrown around so much that it's just a lot, like you were talking about marketing
mhm,
and, different products. I feel like that can be kind of a little marketing gimmick too, when in
100%.
actuality, oh my gosh, so many diseases stem from gut health.
Hmm. Yes, 100%. And again, it frustrates me beyond more than you could imagine, the marketing that happens around products for all things, right? But gut health, oh, this has this many probiotics, or oh, this is good for your gut, or not that I'm saying it's not true, but again, fundamentally, we need to go back to the beginning, like understanding what your gut actually is and how food actually can heal it or hurt it and what happens to your insides. But all of that is going back to the basics of food also. And I'm not against supplements, but I think that supplements is a business.
Hmm.
And I think that we can over supplement ourselves when really, if we just changed what was going in our mouth and the thoughts we had and the movement we had, we wouldn't need all of the supplements. But
Right.
people don't get that, you can get a probiotic from actually eating real food. You can
Yeah.
get a prebiotic by actually ingesting real food. So
Hmm.
they don't understand that. They just think, oh, probiotic, I need to have that in my gut. I need to have more flora. So, and again, for people who overuse those, you can also cause an imbalance. So, there is such a thing as understanding. And
Hmm.
the gimmicks drive me nuts because I
Yeah.
just feel like there is the greens powder. That's a buzzword, get your greens because nobody can eat enough vegetables and fruits. And it's like, true, maybe, but if you actually focused on having vegetables at breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you probably are ingesting enough, if maybe
Hmm.
supplement one drink. But the problem with the drinks is they're also full of garbage. And then you have people that promote them who are famous or whatever, influencers or whatever. And so
Yeah.
people think they're amazing. But I encourage people, read your ingredients. If you see something that is not a whole food or something that makes sense, then it's not a good product, even if Sally's using it. It's like
Yeah.
you have to think for yourself. So
Yeah.
there's a few basics that I like to educate people on, and then after that, it's trial and error. What works for you, what doesn't work for you, depending on where your like stress level is, or your relationship status is, or things that are also affecting you, affects what you eat and don't eat and absorb and
Right.
all of those other
Yeah.
components.
Yeah. And you mentioned probiotics and prebiotics. And I know that everyone individually, you would treat each client differently based on what they need. But just basic, someone just starting out that isn't quite ready for health coaching yet, are
Mhm.
there just a few things that you would say for prebiotics and probiotics with our foods that we could incorporate now?
Sure. I mean, sauerkraut is a great one. A one
Hmm.
scoopful of sauerkraut, kimchi, something that is fermented, that 1 tablespoon will do miracles for your body. Um, Yogurt, if you are someone who can tolerate dairy, or even if you do non-dairy, the yogurt itself, cultures have probiotics and prebiotics in them. Leafy greens, there are a list of foods, Jerusalem artichokes. So I encourage people, if you are just dipping your toe in, Google, get on Pinterest, because I tell you, Pinterest is great for resources. Just say, what are foods that are prebiotic? What are foods that probiotic? Look at the lists and first see, what are you eating? You might actually be eating a lot of them and you don't even know it. And then if you're eating some, but not the other, then when you're prepping or planning for the next week's food, try to incorporate something new and see how it goes.
Yeah.
If you're super deficient and food isn't the only thing, then that's where the supplements come in.
Okay. Okay.
For people with vitamin D, usually their levels are lower than what people like to see them at for protection of your immune system. So by just having that simple blood check every year, you will know there is a difference in levels and numbers between Western and Eastern and where everybody thinks it should sit. So have the conversations with your doctor, see if that resonates with you. If it doesn't, check with a different doctor. But, that is something that sometimes, most of the time, has to be supplemented because you just can't. Even people in Florida, our body doesn't naturally absorb all of it and such. And it's a good defense for your immune system.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and the other thing, just really quick about gut health, when your gut health is intact, you get sick less because your immune system is able to fight off the foreign things that pop into your body.
Mm-hmm. Hey guys, it's Robin interrupting the episode. So I wanted to make sure that you knew about the 3 membership levels that I have available. The first one is a wine club. It's like a book club, but it's cooler. We meet once a month via Zoom to explore wine. And don't worry, I'll give you guidance ahead of time on what wine to bring and with plenty of notice. You're also going to get hidden podcast episodes, a look behind the scenes, tasting notes, and recipes. And then level 2 adds a little sweat into it. It's the Spandex and Wine Club. And you'll get all of the benefits from the Wine Club level, plus 3 workout videos per month, 1 live yoga session per month, and weekly text messages from me. And then level 3 is the VIP status. It's the best club ever. And from that one, you'll get both the Wine Club and the Spandex and Wine Club benefits, plus 1 group coaching call per month, discounted rates on retreats, bi-weekly check-in text messages. All of the links are ready and up at spandexandwine.com. So go check it out and let me know if you have any questions. Back to the episode. Mm-hmm. I've also heard holistic doctors say, though, that like bragging about not getting sick is not necessarily a good thing. Like your body kind of needs that every now and then. How can you speak to that?
Not from a science perspective, but
okay.
I think from a personal perspective, when you're little, yes, you need to come in contact with things so that your body recognizes what it can fight, what it can't fight, things like that. But if you have an intact immune system, you should be able to move through a virus and maybe not even notice that doesn't mean you don't have it, but just doesn't mean that you're going to have these crazy symptoms with it.
Gotcha.
Or you might have a milder. So like let's say if you were sitting with somebody else 2 different bodies, right? You each get a cold. One person's down and out for 2 weeks. One person gets over it in 5 days. Why? Because their immune system goes to attack. It's an army, it does its job. And the other one's maybe not quite sure, or maybe has permeability issues, or, there's a ton of things. My job as a health coach is, once you go through that functional medicine route or an integrative route or Western, and you get a diagnosis and you get, the protocol that they would like you to do, it can be very overwhelming if you've never done it, or even if you have. A flip in your whole entire life is really hard. And so as a coach, our job is to meet you where you are and then help you to transition to whatever it is that you need to be doing so that you can heal yourself, but with education included and, accountability and support and ideas and things like that. So, I see my job more as a facilitator of goodness and wealth and health, which gives you wealth, I guess.
Yeah.
So, just to be your guide on the side,
right.
Because again, everybody's makeup is so different that what works for one person isn't going to work for another. And then the
True.
other thing is when you go to a doctor and they give you a protocol, they leave out the primary food side of things. So in my education, there we call it primary foods and secondary foods. And secondary foods is all the food that you eat on your plate. But primary is probably just as or more important than that, which is where you find joy, your creativity, your education, your finances, your career, your spirituality, your relationships, your home cooking, like all of the things really that make us whole. And
Hmm.
so when you don't address those and you're just trying to like strip something down over here, a lot of times because you're so out of balance and there's so much chaos, it doesn't stick long enough to really be a lifestyle change.
Sure. Yeah. Which now it totally makes sense. The name of your podcast, Live Life Balanced with Robin. Okay. Because that's what you're speaking of. It's just everything, the entire, your entire well-being.
And balance meaning that can you have a glass of wine? Yes. Nobody's
Okay.
telling you that you can't have anything. It's a matter of what works. How do you feel when you have that glass of wine? How do you feel when you eat that piece of chocolate? 90 minutes later, are you crashing? Are
Yeah.
you more energetic? So it's about knowing what works for your body and you. For me, wine gives me a headache. So that's not my choice of drink.
Hmm.
I like Tito's and, it's gluten free and I can do it with whatever and I can add lime and that is happy for me, and so
Yeah.
everybody's happy is a little different or everybody's fun or whatever you want to call it. So again, it's finding out what works for you. And that's the same thing with food. It's the same thing with movement. People like think movement is a death sentence. Like if you're not a gym person, well, I'm not going to go to the gym. Like I don't want to work out. It's like, well, okay, well, nobody's telling you have to go to the gym. What's
Yeah.
something fun you did when you were
Right.
little?
Right.
Did you roller skate? Did you, I don't know, play volleyball? Did you dance? Find something that actually like lights you up. And then it doesn't feel like, a chore to do. It could be
Absolutely.
simply walking. I mean, people really discount walking. Walking is amazing, getting out in nature,
Hmm.
being just decompressing your brain, thinking of
Yeah.
nothing but, what's happening around you. So
Yeah.
it's just breaking things down and not making everything reframing a lot of times the
Yes.
stories that you've been telling yourself all these years. And so that is a place that I really love to start with any client or any group of women is really people understanding what their backstory is, because that really makes a difference when you're trying to make a change in your like present life. What created that thought for you long ago,
Hmm.
or last year or whatever, that makes you think this about wellness or makes you think this about, because your thoughts become reality. So if you know what the thought is and where it came from, then you can start to reframe it and work. And that actually does more work than, sometimes going out and going for a light walk or jog, because the mental space really is a big part of all of it.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. I mean, I'm all for exercise. I'm all for strength training, all of that. But I do feel like sometimes people will set out on a walk just strictly for exercise when it could be what you need is just slow down, make it a moving meditation, maybe
Mhm.
be out in nature and allow yourself, okay, I don't need to, crank up the treadmill or I don't need to go as fast as I can. Maybe I just need to step back and go a little
Yeah.
slower.
Right. And then actually helps your nervous system. There's, a whole plethora of things that a slow like walk in nature can do versus pumping it up, and running 3 miles or whatever. Not against 3 mile running. I'm not against strength
Right.
training. I think they all have a place and a purpose, but it's
Yes.
just knowing where you're at in that moment when you go to create your movement for yourself that day.
Absolutely. So let's talk about the course that you have coming up. When does it come out and what can people expect from it?
So the course is going to launch mid-March. It's going to be 8 weeks, and it's going to be a container for women who are in midlife, kind of in stepping into the empty nest, kind of in the empty nest or fully in it,
Hmm.
to where they have more time that they want to dedicate. They're trying to figure themselves out again. They're trying to find that core group of people that they want. So that is going to be an 8-week course where we start to kind of unravel things, to get to know our story. And then we're just going to each week take different topics and we're going to break them down into bite-sized pieces. And then they'll have homework each week. So for example, maybe time management is one of them. And so we'll talk about morning routines and night routines and really what that actually means, and not just a fluff of a list of things to do in the morning and a list of things to add to your schedule at night, but what that actually means, talking about time blocking, because a lot of people, one of their main problems is they don't have time. And so we talk about how you fit it in. And then also I teach in the course the 1% shift method, which is all about taking the smaller steps, understanding that in the end, you're going to have a bigger outcome. The quick fix diet pill or, restrictive diet, those things, they just don't work for long term. And so I want people to know there is a better way and another way that can help them to get to the lifestyle they actually desire, without feeling deprived and a lack of or without.
Yeah.
So that's that program. And I'm super excited about it. I have a beta program that's going to start in February. That's why I say it's going to be the end of March, because I'm going to do a few people in a beta test before I actually launch it live for other people.
Yeah. No, it sounds amazing because it sounds like you cover pretty much everything. Like right now, I'm working with some ladies and we're focusing on our morning rituals, evening rituals, things like that to get that in place. But you take it even a step further. And I remember when we became empty nesters, it was so interesting how you spent so much time with your kids' friends' parents, and then all of a sudden everything shifts. Yes. Yeah. And you're like, oh gosh, now I'm sitting here thinking, oh, I wonder what happened to so and so or so and so, when that was your whole life at that moment. So it can be lonely, it can be scary, it can be, what do I do now? So that's wonderful that you're doing that.
Yeah. And so with that whole thought process, because that's 3 years in for my first child, and my second child's a senior this year, so we'll be complete empty nesters next year. I didn't do it right. Not that there's a right and a wrong way, but my coping skills were not that great. And I didn't have like an empty nest moms group. Like I didn't have like people that were going through this similar, but like you said, the sports team moms and dads were gone. The, baby moms were gone. Like so you have, your few friends that you've had tried and true through, but they're at different stages of life too. They still have kids that are going in that circle. So they have those other parents. So that led me to create the Empty Nest Mamas membership group, which are for moms who want to have that supportive community to be able to be seen and heard and felt in the emotions that really are raw and real when you are an empty nest mom. So that's going to be different from the course, because some people that are in that stage don't really need a health and wellness course, but they do need the support. And so we're going to do that kind of separately. And that's going to be, the live launch is going to be here locally in February. And then after that, it'll go virtual. It'll probably launch before the course if everything goes as it's planned, but you never know how that works.
You never know. Yeah.
So stay tuned and keep looking at social media and all of that, because that will come out soon. But in that membership, my hope and desire is we all can feel safe enough to talk about the things that, because just because your children go off to college doesn't mean you're not a parent anymore. Your parenting role shifts, but the problems and the situations become very different. And when you don't have that pocket of moms and dads to talk to, it really helps to have that support. So I'm going to have different people come into the group and talk on, different parenting styles and actually like, who are you now and things like that. So, just rediscovering yourself in a new way, and make the empty nest stage something beautiful rather than something so sad and depressing and
and unknown.
Yes, unknown. I like that word.
Yes. No, I mean, I was there. Now my boys are 30 and 32, and we have one grandson and getting ready to have another. So that's exciting. So we're in a different stage, but no, that would have been a wonderful group to have when I was at that point.
Oh, good. I'm glad you think so. I think it will be help. At least, I think it will be helpful for that beginnings part. Once you kind of get seasoned into it and you figure everything out, like you're past that. So you're now in the well, maybe you're going to have a grandma club. You could have a grandparent club, because that's a whole nother chapter, right?
It
Marriage.
is.
And that's exciting.
It's
That's
so
awesome.
exciting. Yeah, it's fun to watch. It's fun to watch your kids be parents. Yeah. So,
Yeah, that'll
so
be
you had
interesting.
mentioned social media. How can people find you? What days do your podcast come out? Give us all the scoop.
Sure. My podcast launches, every episode launches on Wednesdays on Hump Day, because I feel like it's a good time in the week when people need a little encouragement.
Uh-huh.
And my social media is, let's see, Instagram and Facebook is just Live Life Balanced with Robin. I do have a TikTok. It's new-ish. So I'm just learning how to TikTok for myself.
Okay.
Same thing, just Live Life Balanced with Robin. My website, Live Life Balanced with Robin. Try to keep it consistent across the board.
Yeah.
But on my podcast, if you're someone who's seeking just a variety of topics on health and wellness, nothing specific. We talk about gut health. We talk about menopause. We talk about holistic food practices. We talk about, I have an author that just came on. So I talk to real people who have had transformational stories and how they've come. I do solo episodes. So there's kind of a variety of, things for you to pick and choose from.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. That sounds wonderful. Very good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time today. I really appreciate you being here. You guys are under a tornado warning or watch, you said, and here we just had a snowstorm.
And we're still making it happen. Look at us.
Look at us.
Look at us. That's awesome. Thank you so much for having me on. And also, I love meeting you, and I love your podcast. I've been listening to it, and it really resonates with me. So thank you for having me join your little crew. I love it.
Thank you. I appreciate you being here. You take care and be safe.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks. What a wonderful conversation. Thank you, Robin, for taking the time out of your schedule to be here. Here are a few takeaways. 1, non-toxic products are a great place to start when wanting to detox your home. Be careful of clever marketing, though, and make sure that the products are what they say they are. 2, misdiagnosis happens all the time. Don't be afraid to keep searching for answers. It might actually be improving your gut health. 3, gut health can be thrown around as a marketing gimmick, but so many diseases stem from a poor quality. Step 1, get back to the basics with your diet. Prebiotic and probiotics can be found in foods. Start there before supplements. Focus on plenty of vegetables with every meal and fermented foods. 4, don't simply follow an influencer. You have to think for yourself. Do your research and some trial and error to discover what is best for you. 5, a health coach like Robin will meet you where you are and help you to transition to whatever it is you need to be and do to heal yourself. 6, you can have wine and chocolate and favorite foods. The question is, how do you feel when you have them? Your body will tell you if it is something that doesn't work for you. Learn to listen. 7, find something that lights you up as exercise. It shouldn't feel like a chore. If you're stepping into being an empty nester and you feel a bit lost, check out Robin's group. The info is in the show notes. Thank you for listening. If you're enjoying this podcast, be sure to follow Spandex and Wine so you don't miss an episode. To do this, just go to the podcast and click subscribe or follow wherever you are listening. Look for the plus sign or follow button. This is one of the best things that you can do for the podcast. If you'd also be willing to give a 5-star review, that would be amazing and much appreciated. Lastly, please share an episode with a friend or 5 to keep the love going, and join the Spandex and Wine community in our private Facebook group by searching Spandex and Wine. Feel free to reach out to me at any time by emailing info@spandexandwine.com or text me at 913-392-2877. I appreciate you. Thank you.